Hey guys, Unit 3, B1A video class. We're going to start the second semester and the unit talks about the wonderful cities around the world. Take a look at these pictures. What cities do you identify? Which cities here can you recognize? Do you recognize any cities that you know about? So let's read the text here and you're going to identify which cities the people here are describing. Take a look at the conversations here in the text so that you can recognize which city they're talking about. Number one, okay, my turn now. You're at the heart of the city, in the middle of the world's largest city square and the country's most important landmark. This square separates the country's capital from the Forbidden City. Which Asian city is it? So they talk about it's the city that is in Asia, right? It is in the middle of the world's largest city square. What is a square? Square means praça, and it has the most important landmark in the country. That is square. Square, remember, praça, right? And this square separates the capital from the Forbidden City. So, do you know the name of the city? The answer here is, I don't know, is it? Then we have Beijing, New York City, Rio de Janeiro, or Mexico City. Which of these cities is Asian? The answer is Beijing, right? So the answer for number one, is it Beijing? Yeah, well done. At last, you got one right. Number two, hey, I thought you'd be busy sightseeing. What are you doing online? Ed, it's raining. Just having coffee and waiting for the rain to stop. So, how do you like? Which cities are they talking about? Well, if you like avenues full of skyscrapers, chaotic traffic, dangerous neighborhoods, and the ugliest harbor I've ever seen, it's the place to go. Well, okay. Anything you do like, Mr. Grumpy? Well, streets and avenues are numbered, so it's easy to find my way around, I guess. And the city is mostly flat, so it's very easy to walk. It's very lively, I suppose. Lots going on, some good shopping. Oh, and then there's the huge park and the statue. Yep, I think that's about it. Which city are they talking about? New York City, Rio de Janeiro, or Mexico City? The one that has tallest skyscrapers. It is New York City, right? Number three, second day in this marvelous city. I'm at a beautiful beach right now. People exercising and sunbathing everywhere. Some of them even sunbathe standing up so they can be seen. Looking up to my right, I can see a magnificent statue. But to my left, up on the hill, is one of the most rundown areas of the city. It's really strange that only a few blocks away there's an upscale, fashionable neighborhood. You gotta love this place. So many great tourist spots, such a lot to do. And number four, such fabulous colonial architecture. If you have time, be sure to go all the way up to the 44th floor. There is an observation deck where you get an exceptional view of skyline. On a clear day, you can see the soccer stadium, lots of beautiful churches, volcanoes, and even the pyramids. Problem is, this city is sometimes smoggy, so we don't get too many really clear days, I'm afraid. So, which city is number three and which one is four? Rio de Janeiro or Mexico City? Let's check the answers. And the answers are number three, Rio de Janeiro, because you can see the statue of Cristo Redentor, Christ the Redeemer, a magnificent statue, and beautiful areas to sunbathe. So you can get a tan. Get a tan means pegar bronzeado, right? And of course, in Rio de Janeiro, there are a lot of tourist places to visit, right? Number four, it's Mexico City. There you can see some volcanoes. Volcanoes mean vulcões, right? pyramids, but it's sometimes smoggy. Smog means neblina, right? So sometimes the city gets some like full of clouds, a little smoggy, right? And you don't see so many things there, not so clear, right? Now, in this activity, you're going to match the type of text, alright? Remember that there is one extra type here. We have friends talking on WhatsApp, a guide talking to tourists, a vacation blog post, friends playing a guessing game, introduction to a guide, which is each of the pictures, number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which text type is each one? Let's check.
1. Okay, my turn now. You're at the heart of the city, in the middle of the world's largest city square and the country's most important landmark. This square separates the country's capital from the Forbidden City. Which Asian city is it?
I don't know. Is it Beijing?
Yeah, well done. At last, you got one right.
2.
Hey, I thought you'd be busy sightseeing. What are you doing online?
It's raining. Just having coffee and waiting for the rain to stop.
So, how do you like New York?
Well, if you like avenues full of skyscrapers, chaotic traffic, dangerous neighborhoods, and the ugliest harbor I've ever seen, it's the place to go.
Well, okay. Anything you do like, Mr. Grumpy?
Well, streets and avenues are numbered, so it's easy to find my way around, I guess. And the city is mostly flat, so it's very easy to walk. It's very lively, I suppose. Lots going on, some good shopping. Oh, and then there's the huge park. And the statue. Yep, I think that's about it.
3.
Second day in Rio de Janeiro, this marvelous city. I'm at a beautiful beach right now. People exercising and sunbathing everywhere. Some of them even sunbathe standing up so they can be seen. Looking up to my right, I can see a magnificent statue. But to my left, up on the hill, is one of the most run-down areas of the city. It's really strange that only a few blocks away, there's an upscale, fashionable neighborhood. You gotta love this place. So many great tourist spots, so much to do.
4. And the city has such fabulous colonial architecture. If you have time, be sure to go all the way up to the 44th floor. There's an observation deck where you'll get an exceptional view of Mexico City's skyline. On a clear day, you can see the soccer stadium, lots of beautiful old churches, volcanoes, and even the pyramids. Problem is, this city is sometimes smoggy, so we don't get too many really clear days, I'm afraid.
So let's check the answers. Number 1, it is a kind of game, a guessing game. Two friends are playing, describing the city, and they try to guess the name of the city, right? Do you play like this? Number 2, it is a conversation between people, friends, talking on WhatsApp. That is an app that people can send messages to each other and talk, right? In number 3, we're talking about a blog. The person is describing the day he or she is spending in a very fantastic city named Rio de Janeiro. So it is a vacation blog post. The person is describing the activities people are doing, describing the place, alright? So it is a vacation blog post. And the last one, number 4, it is a person who is describing the city and what to do there, what places to visit. So it is a guide talking to tourists, right? So this is it. So here's the text. There are some words that are underlined, and you're going to try to find out the definition for these sentences or these words. Okay? So we have in number 1. You're at the heart of the city. The next one we have landmark. In number 2, we have it's the place to go. In number 3, tourist spot. In this activity, you're going to write the underlined words that are in the text, right? Right next to the definition, we have number 1, a noun, countable noun. The definition is a well-known building or a well-known site. Site means an area, a place, right? Number 2, it's a countable noun. The definition for it is places, attractions popular with visitors. Number 3, it's a phrase. The definition is know where you're going. 4, another phrase that means I recommend it. And number 5, that it's another phrase in the most important place. So let's see the text. So these are the underlined phrases or words. In number 1, we have at the heart of the city. And then we have landmark. We have it's the place to go. In number 2, and find my way around. In number 3, we have the expression tourist spot. Spots means areas, places, right? And the last one, number 4, we have Mexico City, right? So let's check. So the answers are number 1, landmark, that is a well-known building or site. Number 2, tourist spots, that are places or attractions popular with visitors. Number 3, find my way around, that is a phrase that means know where you're going. 4, it's the place to go. Another phrase that means I recommend it. And the last one, number 5, at the heart of, that means in the most important place. So take a look at the example. We have a beautiful square in the heart of our town. It's a real tourist spot because it has such great cafes and restaurants. Activity letter E, you have some adjectives here. They have synonyms in the text that we have just read, right? So which adjectives would you use to describe your city or another place that you know, a city that you want to visit one day, and why? So we have confused and disorganized, energetic and active, expensive and chic, neglected and poor, polluted and popular. So which of the adjectives that appear in the text are synonyms for these adjectives, confused and disorganized, energetic and active, and these other ones? Let's check. Remember that you're going to discover the bold adjectives. The bold means the ones that are in negrito, right? Can you see here? We have the first one. In number 2, chaotic and lively. In number 3, we have upscale and fashionable. And here in the last one, number 4, we have smoggy. So let's identify the synonyms for these adjectives in text. Let's check the answers here. We have confused and disorganized. It is chaotic, energetic and active, lively, expensive and chic, upscale, neglected and poor, run down, polluted, smoggy, popular, fashionable. Just remember the difference when we use such and so. Remember that we use so before the adjective, but we use such generally together with the adjective and the noun. Example: it has such beautiful architecture. Architecture is an uncountable noun. That's why I say such beautiful architecture. Most of the sentences that we use such, remember we use such a beautiful building, such an elegant woman, such an for countable, and we use such for before the adjective and the noun, right? And we don't say it has a so beautiful. No, we say it has such beautiful architecture. And we don't say the people is such friendly. No, people is plural, so we use are, and we don't use such before an adjective, just. I say the people are so friendly. Remember, so is more common to use before the adjectives, the qualities, and such is together with the adjective and the noun. Let's practice pronunciation now. You're going to cross out the words that do not have a. So listen to check here the words that do not have the sound a. Pay attention to this. We say train, you see? Dangerous, ancient, Asian, skyscraper. So listen and check.
A,
ancient, Asian, chaotic, dangerous, skyscraper, stadium, sunbathe, upscale, volcanoes,
A,
fashionable, flat, statue, traffic,
Okay, so let's check the answers. The words here that don't have the sound A are fashionable, flat, statue, traffic. So these ones don't have the A sound. To finish section A of Unit 3, we're talking about the city that you would love to visit. You're going to talk to describe the city, some tourist spots that you would like to take a look, to visit, take photos, right? And you're going to describe everything that you know about the city, and of course to give some tips about its culture, the behavior of people around, some hints, some tips for a person who wants to travel to this place, right? So don't forget to write about the place that you would love to visit one day. Let's go ahead and into three parts of the section B, right? And then we're going to watch a video, and in this video you're gonna have some people talking about a city, what you can do there, what is common to see around, about the culture, about everything that is really important to know before visiting the place, right? So if you want to visit a place for the first time and you have no idea about what it is, life there, so you can make friends, you can learn the language, learn the culture before traveling. All right? And here we have a text. You're going to underline the words about the photos. We have photos A to letter A, and you're going to check about the correct options for numbers 1 to 9. Pay attention to check. Take a look at picture A. We have tea. In B, the person is having some soup in a bowl, right? Letter C, two kids here hugging each other. Letter D, coins and coffee, right? In letter E, the person is kissing on the cheek. Letter F, they are shaking hands, greeting each other. In letter G, we're talking about typical food. And letter H, events there, maybe, right? So let's check, watch the video now.
While people in Hong Kong are very familiar with Western culture, there are still unique social etiquettes that tourists should observe. When greeting someone in Hong Kong, a handshake is common, but do it with a slight bow. Kissing on the cheek and hugging is not practiced. It is okay to gently push your way through the crowd as Hong Kong is so densely packed. In fact, if someone says they're sorry while navigating the crowd, it's considered impolite. When giving gifts, always give them with two hands. Do not give clocks, as the Chinese associate clocks with death. And gifts are never opened in front of the person that gave them. When eating with others, it's important to be aware of important table etiquette. As a courtesy, fill the teacups of others before pouring your own cup, even if their cups are not empty. When you need a refill, keep the lid of the teapot half open, and the waiter will get the hint. Blowing the soup is considered okay to cool down the soup. After you are done, don't leave your chopsticks standing straight up, as this signifies death. Leave them flat on the table. Tipping is customary. A service tip of 10% is expected. And tip the server directly, as leaving a tip on the table is considered impolite. Now you know a little bit more about Hong Kong. This is Rosanna Wilcox, informing you about Hong Kong.
Now you're gonna listen again, the audio script. Now you're gonna listen again and check the answers later, right?
While people in Hong Kong are very familiar with Western culture, there are still unique social etiquettes that tourists should observe. When greeting someone in Hong Kong, a handshake is common, but do it with a slight bow. Kissing on the cheek and hugging is not practiced. It is okay to gently push your way through the crowd, as Hong Kong is so densely packed. In fact, if someone says they're sorry while navigating the crowd, it's considered impolite. When giving gifts, always give them with 2 hands.
Thank you.
Do not give clocks, as the Chinese associate clocks with death. And gifts are never opened in front of the person that gave them. When eating with others, it's important to be aware of important table etiquette. As a courtesy, fill the teacups of others before pouring your own cup, even if their cups are not empty. When you need a refill, keep the lid of the teapot half open, and the waiter will get the hint. Blowing on the soup is considered okay to cool down the soup. After you're done, don't leave your chopsticks standing straight up, as this signifies death. Leave them flat on the table. Tipping is customary. A service tip of 10% is expected. And tip the server directly, as leaving a tip on the table is considered impolite. Now you know a little bit more about Hong Kong. This is Rosanna Wilcox informing you about Hong Kong.
So let's check the answer. Letter A, it is pour. So when you are serving tea, coffee, or any other liquid, you pour the liquid in a cup, right? Letter B, blow on your soup. When you blow, it means soprar, right? The soup is hot, so you blow on your soup. Letter C, hug, embrace, right? Letter D, leave a tip. Can you see some coins next to the cup? So that's a tip. Tip means gorjeta, right? And letter E, take a look at the photo. Kiss them on the cheek. Cheek means bochecha, right? Letter F, shake hands and bow. When I say bow, it means move your head up and down. You see, it's a greeting. Letter G and H. G is chopsticks and H, push your way through. Alright, so according to this exercise here, we have number 1. It's usual or it's rare for people to shake hands and bow slightly? The answer is usual, so it's common. Number 2, when you greet people, you should or you shouldn't hug them and kiss them on the cheek. You shouldn't. They don't have this right. Number 3, say nothing. When you're walking through a crowd means multidão, right? You should gently push your way through and say nothing. Alright? What is apologize? Apologize means when you ask the person to forgive you, you say sorry about, so you say nothing is correct. We have number 4. When you receive a gift, it's good manners to open it later, not in front of the person who gave you, right? Not immediately. And number 5, bad. Clocks make bad gifts because they mean death, right? Number 6, when drinking tea, you should pour your own or friend's cup first. The answer for number 6 is friend's cup first. You see, number 7, in Hong Kong, it's okay to blow on your soup or chill loudly. Number 7, the correct answer is blow on your soup. The word chill Loudly means mascar bem alto, okay? Loudly. Number 8, the answer here for leaving your chopsticks straight up means good or bad luck. They mean bad luck. And after eating, you should or you shouldn't leave a tip. The answer is shouldn't. So you shouldn't leave a tip on the table. This is not polite, okay? Polite means educado. So it is impolite. What about here in your country, here in your city? What are the rules where you live? Are there a lot of regulations in your community, in your home, in your school? As you are a military student, so in your school is full of regulations and that you have to follow them, right? So write down some tips for a foreign person to visit your city. What does this person need to know before visiting your city? In this activity, you're gonna listen to Rita talking about the first time she's going to meet her in-laws. So she's gonna talk about her travel for a travel blog. And you're going to match the sentences with numbers 1 to 5. Pay attention to these sentences you're going to insert in the text while you listen, right? Remember that you're gonna use the past perfect tense and that is one extra you're not going to complete here, okay? Let's do it. Listen.
First few days in HK, I got mad at Hugh. He hadn't told me about the shaking hands thing here. Guess how surprised his dad was when I kissed him. Slightly embarrassing. Hugh's mom gave me a gift she'd made. Fortunately, I remembered not to open it in front of her. Went out for lunch, and I saw a man blowing on his soup. I'd never seen anyone do that before. Then I forgot to tip the waitress directly. Luckily, Hugh went back and took the money I'd left on the table and gave it to her. I was walking through crowded streets this afternoon when this man suddenly looked at me strangely. I realized I'd said sorry to him. Typical tourist. To be honest, it's so unnatural for me not to apologize. But loving being here.
So Rita is in Hong Kong for the first time to meet her in-laws. Remember in-law? Father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, all the family of your future husband or your future wife. When you get married, all the family becomes in-laws. Okay? So mother-in-law means sogra, right? Father-in-law, sogro. And then we have son-in-law, genro, daughter-in-law, nora, brother-in-law, cunhado, and sister-in-law, cunhada. So she's gonna meet her in-law. Now let's check the answers. So number 1, he hadn't told me. So here Rita is talking about the surprise she got. It's traditional there about the shaking hand. You're gonna match the sentences here. She'd made. He hadn't told me. I'd never seen anyone do that. I left on the table. I hadn't had it before. I'd said sorry. So these sentences are all in the past perfect tense. Remember, we talked about the past perfect in our last slide. And what is it? It is a verb tense that we use to talk about a situation that happened before another action in the past. So it is the past of the past. Take a look at the answers. Number 1, first few days in Hong Kong. I got mad at Hugh. He hadn't told me about the shaking hands thing here. You see, when you are a tourist visiting a city for the first time, you need to research about the culture, about the traditions, about everything, not to get embarrassed in situations like that. So she didn't know people there in Hong Kong got surprised when they were kissed, you see? And that's what happened. And Rita got mad at him because he didn't tell her about shaking hands thing, not kisses in Hong Kong. You see? So number one, he hadn't told me. So we're talking about a situation in the past before another situation here. So the first action here was the fact that he didn't tell Rita about shaking hands, a greeting, not kissing, right? And after that, she got mad at him because of that, because he didn't tell her before. You see? That's why we used past perfect tense. He hadn't told me. In the negative sentence, had plus not hadn't, and told that is the past participle of the verb tell. Hadn't told, past perfect tense. Let's go ahead. Slightly embarrassing. Hugh's mom gave me a gift. Number two, she'd made. When I say she'd made, she'd is the contraction of she had because after had we are using the verb in the past participle. So don't get confused about she'd as contraction of she would. No. She'd is contraction of she had. Alright? Remember that. When we use would, we use the verb in the infinitive. She would make. But here I'm using past perfect tense. She'd made, contraction of she had made, right? Fortunately, I remember not to open it in front of her. Went out for lunch and I saw a man blowing on his soup. Number three, I'd never seen anyone do that before. You see, she's talking about a situation in the past before another. First, she never saw any person do that, blowing the soup, right? And then she saw the man blowing on the soup. You see, two actions in the past. The one that I use the past perfect tense, I'd never seen, contraction of I had never seen. I'm talking about this action happened before the other. Before I saw a man blowing on his soup. You see? Continue. Then I forgot to tip the waitress directly. Luckily, he went back and took the money. Number four, I'd left on the table and gave it to her. So here, I'd left contraction of I had left. Two actions in the past. She forgot to tip the waitress and Hugh went back there to the table and took the money she'd left on the table. So, which of these actions happened before? She left the money on the table. Then she forgot to tip the waitress and Hugh went back there and took the money. You see? So I use the past perfect to talk about a situation that happened before other actions in the past, right? I'd left, contraction of I had left, past perfect tense. Number four. Let's go ahead. I was walking through crowded streets this afternoon when this man suddenly looked at me strangely. I realized I'd said sorry to him. Number five. The answer, using the past perfect, I'd said, contraction of I had said sorry to him. Typical tourist. To be honest, it's so unnatural for me not to apologize, but loving being here. You see? When you are a tourist, you can have many situations like that. You get confused how to behave in another place. So be careful. Before traveling to a city that you have never been there before, try to research and get information about everything, traditions, culture, everything, right? Now, let's pay attention here to the grammar box and let's check the answers that are correctly about the use of past perfect tense. What happened first? Hugh's mom gave me a gift that she'd made. So she gave the gift or she made the gift? Which of these actions happened before the other? The past perfect has only one form for all persons. Had, positive, affirmative, hadn't, negative, plus the past participle. The past perfect shows a relationship with another past event. Use the past perfect for the earlier event and the simple past for the later event. So that's the difference. So let's check the answers in number one. When I say Hugh's mom gave me a gift that she'd made is the contraction of she had made. the past perfect tense. So the action that happened before is she gave me the gift or she made the gift. So here's the answer. She made the gift before she gave me. So that's why I say she'd made, contraction of she had made, past perfect tense, to indicate this action. She made the gift before the action she gave me the gift. You see the difference? In number 2, pay attention to the pictures A and B. Match the pictures A and B to these sentences here below. When I arrived, everybody started leaving. When I arrived, everybody had left. Pay attention to the sentences here and match these sentences to the pictures represented here in letters A and B, right? The first one, when I arrived, everybody started leaving. When I arrived, everybody had left. So which of these actions here are in letter A? So let's check the answers. In number 2, take a look at the picture. Letter A. When I arrived, everybody started leaving. Both actions are in the past tense, simple past. I arrived, everybody started leaving. So what happened here? Two actions that happened at the same time. And when we talk about two actions that happen at the same time, I use both sentences in the simple past tense. Arrived, started. You see? In letter B, when I arrived, everybody had left. One of the actions happened before the other. What happened first? I arrived at the party or everybody had left the party? So take a look at the picture B. He arrived and there was no person, nobody at the party. So everybody had left. I use the past perfect to indicate this action happened before the other. That's why I used the past perfect tense. Everybody had left. Take a look at the grammar box. We're talking about past perfect tense. We have the subject, the auxiliary, had, negative, had not or hadn't, contract. You can contract had in the affirmative sentence with apostrophe D, right? And then we have the verb in the past participle. So the example, I had never been to Hong Kong before. I'd already left by the time the suitcase appeared. Or you can say, he had not or he hadn't had anything to eat for nearly 24 hours. We hadn't or we had not ever been. So you can say, we had ever been abroad until this trip. So take a look at the form. We have subject plus had not or contraction hadn't plus the past participle for the negative sentences. And we use apostrophe D contractions for positive and hadn't for negative sentences, right? In questions, I use had or hadn't before the subject, and then we have the past participle of the main verb. Example, had you taken medicine before you flew? Hadn't you ever seen that before? What had you eaten before you got sick? You see? I'm asking about situations and actions that happened before other actions in the past. That's the purpose of past perfect tense. So note here, when the main verb is have, had will appear twice, either together or separate by an adverbial expression. Example, we had already had lunch when they called. Had as the auxiliary and had as the past participle of the main verb, that is have, right? Before I met her, I had serious problems in my relationships. You see? So had is the past perfect tense. We use had as the auxiliary and had as the past participle of the verb have, right? So why do I use the past perfect? What for? What's the purpose? For actions that happen before another past action. Example, I didn't start studying English until after I'd finished high school. I'd finished. It is the contraction of I had finished. The action here is past perfect tense because I'm indicating this action happened before another past action. You see? It's the past of the past. Number 2, to express past wishes and expectations. Example, my birthday party was better than anything I'd expected. The movie was more thrilling than they'd hoped. You see? Contraction of I'd and they'd, it is, had, right? Pay attention to the expressions like already, before, by the time, never, until, recently, and etc. They indicate the duration of the event or when it happened. Example, when the electricity went out, they'd already gone to bed. Two actions in the past. The electricity went out and they went to bed. Which action happened before the other? They went to bed before the electricity went out. You see? So that's why I used past perfect. They had already gone. You see? The action here happened much time before the electricity went out. Did you get it? The second one. She'd never met a celebrity before. So I'm talking about a past of the past that she had never met a celebrity before. In all her life, she had never met a famous person, right? Next, until recently, I hadn't used the website. When I say that I hadn't used that website, I'm talking about a situation in the past that happened before the others. So, up to the moment, until recently, this action had never happened. You see, I hadn't used that website in all my life until now, until recently. I'm talking about a situation in the past that happened before the others. That's why I use the past perfect tense. So let's remember a little bit more about this spot, the grammar spot, past perfect tense. The introduction. We use the past perfect when you are already talking about the past and you want to talk about an earlier past action. So you want to talk about a situation that happened before another situation in the past, right? So we use the past perfect simple to talk about an action or actions that happened before another action in the past. Example, when I saw him, I realized I'd met him before. I'd met is the contraction of I had met, past perfect tense. And there is the past perfect simple. The structure is had, contraction, apostrophe D, plus the main verb in the past participle. Met is the past participle of the verb meet. Did you understand this? So, the action that I met him before happened much time before I saw him and I realized that. You see? Next one, here we have the grammar in use. The form is, this is the structure of the past perfect tense. Had for positive plus the past participle. Take a look at the example. I had seen the film before. Contraction, I'd seen. Contraction of I had, right? And we use had for all the persons. I had, you had, he had, she had, it had, we had, and they had. Contraction apostrophe D. Seen is the past participle of the verb see. Did you get it? Now in the negative. How do you change positive into negative form? You just place not. So hadn't is the contraction of had not. The example is, I hadn't seen the film before. You see? Hadn't seen. We use the same structure for all the persons. So you say, I hadn't seen, she hadn't seen, they hadn't seen. All right? Remember, hadn't, contraction of had not. Interrogative sentences, we invert the order. We use had before the subject, so I just invert the order. And then I say, had I seen it before? Had you seen it before? Had she seen it before? Yes, she had, or no, she hadn't for short answers, right? So remember, questions, I just invert the order of the auxiliary verb had. So you say had, subject, and the verb in the past participle. Alright? Take a look at the examples using the past perfect. Suddenly, he remembered that he had seen the film before. Which action happened before the other? He remembered that he saw the film or he saw the film before. What is the action that happened before another? The fact that he saw the film before he remembered that, right? And that's why I use the past perfect tense. He had seen, ele já tinha visto in the past of the past. Other examples here are: I arrived at the coffee bar 20 minutes late and my friends had already gone. Which action happened before? I arrived at the coffee bar or my friends went? The action that happened before is my friends went. That's why I use the past perfect. Had, auxiliary verb, plus the verb go in the past participle, that is gone. When I say my friends went, I'm talking about the simple past and I mention the time. You see? But when I use the past perfect, I indicate this action happened before another action in the past. So that's why I say my friends had already gone when I arrived. You see? Another example, when I woke up the garden was all white. It had snowed during the night. Which action happened before? I woke up or it had snowed? The action that happened before was that it snowed all night, you see? And then I woke up and saw the garden was all white, covered by snow. You see? That's why I used it had snowed. When I say já tinha nevado durante a noite, I'm talking about the action happened before I woke up. Então, eu acordei depois, right? So when I woke up, it had snowed during the night and the garden was all white. The next one, I couldn't get into my flat because I'd forgotten my keys. Which action happened before? The fact that I couldn't get into my flat, into my apartment, or I forgot my keys. So the action here that happened before is I forgot my keys. That's why I use the past perfect tense. I had forgot. Past perfect tense had in the contraction I'd forgotten. Okay? The last one. When our friends arrived, we hadn't finished cooking the dinner. Here, the action of finish cooking the dinner happened before the other. So in the negative, I'm talking about a situation that didn't happen, that didn't finish, right? And my friends arrived. So when my friends arrived, the other action had already happened. And that's why I use the past perfect tense to indicate this action happened before the other. That's why I use the past perfect tense. So I say, we hadn't finished cooking the dinner when our friends arrived. So let's remember that past perfect tense refers to the past of the past. So you're going to talk about a situation that happened in the past, but you are comparing to other actions that happened in the past. So past perfect tense is used to indicate the action happened before another, right? That's why we say it's the past of the past. Take a look at this example. He had already won a gold medal in the Pan American Games when he won a gold medal in the Olympic Games. Which action happened before? He won the gold medal in the Pan American Games or the one that he won in the Olympic Games? So the one that I use the past perfect is the past of the past. Happened before, right? So he won a gold medal in the Pan American Games before he won a gold medal in the Olympic Games, right? That's why we use the past perfect tense. He had already won. Another example, she had broken the South American record when she won gold medal in the Pan American Games. So which action happened before? She broke the South American record, right? She did that before she won the gold medal in the Pan American Games. You see? That's why we use the past perfect tense, had broken, alright? To indicate this action happened before the other. Moreover, in the past perfect action did occur at a specific time, the simple past can be used instead of the past perfect when, before, or after is used in the sentence. The words before and after actually tell you what happens first. So the past perfect is optional. For this reason, both sentences below are correct. So the examples here are used. She had visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993 before she moved in with them in 1990. Or she visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993 before she moved in with them in 1996. So as you can see, I can use the simple past tense with no problem because I used the words before or after. In this case, before. You see? So I can use both past perfect or simple past. Both are correct to be. But attention to this. If the past perfect is not referring to an action at a specific time, past perfect is not optional. Compare the examples here below and pay attention to the past perfect here that is referring to a lack of experience rather than an action at a specific time. For this reason, simple past cannot be used and it is wrong, incorrect. Take a look at the examples. She never saw a bear before she moved to Alaska. This is wrong. The correct one is she had never seen a bear before she moved to Alaska. You see, she had never seen, past perfect tense. Not she never saw, simple past. Because in this case, the past perfect is talking about a situation that happened at a specific time, but with more experience than the specific time itself. You see? So, in português, you would say, ela nunca tinha visto urso antes de se mudar para o Alasca, okay? Now, let's do the exercise C. You're going to complete Rita's tweets with the past perfect of these verbs. The verb to be, commit, finish, make, read, in the negative, told, and visit, right? Remember there is one extra verb. You're not going to use it, right? So pay attention to the tweets. The first one. In Hong Kong to meet the in-laws, I on a long haul flight before, so I was exhausted when we landed. Number two, I once that some of Hong Kong's skyscrapers had no 13th floor. Guess what? It's true. Number three, made the mistake of wearing white yesterday. Me, that it's the color of death. You see? Number four, when Hugh's parents began their meal, I nearly mine. I didn't know I was supposed to wait for the whole. The last ones, number five and six, blew my nose in public yesterday and everybody looked at me as if a crime. What did I do? Six, on way to Hong Kong airport, Hugh said a good first impression. His parents actually liked me. So, how do you complete here with the past perfect of these verbs? Let's pay attention. Complete. So, here are the answers. Number one, the verb to be in past perfect tense we say had been. In the negative form, because in number one here, the requested is to be used with never, right? Past perfect using never. So you say had never been, contraction of had, I'd never been. Number two, you say I'd read once that some of Hong Kong's skyscrapers had no 13th floor. So I'd read, contraction of I had read, eu tinha lido, right? Em number one, eu nunca tinha estado lá, né? Okay. Number three, we have made the mistake of wearing white yesterday. You hadn't told me. So you didn't tell her before. So I use the past perfect with the verb tell in the past participle told. Then I say hadn't told me, negative form. Number four, when his parents began their meal, I had nearly finished mine. So I had finished. Had contraction, I'd finished. Using nearly that is in the parentheses, you say, I'd nearly finished mine. And she didn't wait for the host. That was a problem, right? A cultural problem. Number 5, I say, blew my nose in public yesterday and everybody looked at me as if I had committed a crime. Contraction of had, I'd committed a crime. The last one, on way to Hong Kong airport, he said I'd made a good first impression. Contraction of had made. You said I had made a good first impression. Pay attention to a very common mistake people make. Most people say, I'd never gone to LA before. Had gone. Contraction of I had gone. And he'd already went when I arrived. I don't use past perfect with the verb in the simple past. Went. Went is the past tense of go. I use the past perfect. I had gone. He had gone, right? But when we talk about a place that I have been to and I came back from that place, I'm here in another place, I don't use go, I use the verb to be. I had been. Eu nunca estive, ou eu já estive. I had been, okay? But when we use gone, we say that the person moved there and didn't come back. That's the difference between using been or gone. If I say, I'd never been to LA, I'm talking about a situation that I had never been there and I'm here now in another city. But if I say gone, it means that I never moved to that place. You see? In the negative form. Take a look at these examples. You're going to pay attention and choose the correct alternative. Bruno was an exchange student in London last year. So you're gonna read and pay attention to the correct use of the verb tense, right? It is past tense or past perfect. You have to choose the best one that matches the idea, right? Number 1, I loved most of the landmarks. I thought Big Ben was amazing. Number 2, at first I hated the food, but by the time I left, I got used to it or I had gotten used to it. Simple past or past perfect. Number 3, I was shocked to find out how fast Londoners spoke or had spoken. Contraction. Londoners spoken. 4. It was nice to hear all the words I learned or I'd learned in class over the years. Simple past or past perfect. 5. By the time my stay was over, I visited or I'd visited. Simple past or past perfect tense. Which one is the best one? And number 6, my first car ride wasn't too bad. I never drove or I'd never driven on the left side of the road. So let's do the exercise and check the answers. Checking the answers. Number 1, I loved most of the landmarks. I thought Big Ben was amazing. Eu achava, não eu tinha achado, ok? So, number 2, at first I hated the food, but by the time I left, I'd gotten used to it. Quando eu parti, eu já tinha me acostumado a ela, a comida, ok? I'd gotten used to it, right? Number 3, I was shocked to find out how fast Londoners spoke. You see? Simple past tense is the correct one. 4, it was nice to hear all the words I'd learned in class over the years. 5, by the time my stay was over, I'd visited most of the tourist spots. This action that I visited most of the tourist spots happened before the time my stay was over. You see? So I use the past perfect, had visited. This is the correct one. Alright? To identify which action happened before the other in the past. Remember? The past of the past. And the last one, number 6, my first car ride wasn't too bad. I'd never driven on the left side of the road. The action that happened before the other. Alright? So this is the past perfect practice.